Hello, I'm Edwardo Jackson, the creator and founder of CinemaDraft. I am also your host. I am rolling solo this evening because, well, life got in the way and it looks like I will be flying on my very first solo pod, so bear with me. Now, you may ask, what is CinemaDraft? Well, think of it as daily fantasy sports meets the movies. But instead of drafting athletes from teams, you're drafting actors from movies. And how these movies perform at the North American box office, you earn points to compete against others for prizes. And we'll get a little bit more into gameplay later. We will pour a little liquor out for my normal co-host who's not here this evening, Peter Vogt, lead designer on CinemaDraft. He might be catching some Z's right now, but that's okay because I've got some information to share with you about our upcoming weekend slate for CinemaDraft. We are still in our test phase, so we'll be going through a lot of changes, a lot of updates throughout the weekend, and hopefully you'll see the progress, and fingers crossed, we'll be launching sometime soon. So I actually want to introduce a new segment this week, something that I'm called What I'm Watching. And normally I would have some really good interplay with Peter, but I'll just take this time to share with you some of the interesting stuff that I've been watching lately that really has, as my old acting teachers say, filled my vessel. Right now we still are in what is considered to be the golden age of TV. I'm watching Mr. Robot on USA Network, and that show is oddly, very weirdly lit. I mean, it is the lit family. I mean, it's got everything you would want in a modern kind of techno thriller. I mean, everything's up to date. It seems like it's almost on the cutting edge of what's happening right now with all the cybersecurity issues. It involves Bitcoin, one of my personal faves, blacksandbitcoin.com, my personal little site for Bitcoin engagement. You also have like this oddly kind of detached and kind of like, you know, dead-eyed lead character who's oddly charismatic only because he's so detached and such an unreliable narrator. I mean, you really have no idea what's going on in his world or the world at large when you're watching him. So I highly recommend Mr. Robot. Only 2 episodes left before this season's over. It's only in the second season. There are only 10-episode seasons, so if you want to binge it this weekend. Be caught up for the season finale next weekend. But I'm very much looking forward to Mr. Robot tomorrow night. What else am I watching? Brain Dead. Oh my goodness! All right, so one of my favorite shows, probably of all time. At least it's easily in the top 10 category, and considering the degree of difficulty, I mean, it's a really good show. Is The Good Wife, and it's from the creators of The Good Wife, the husband and wife writing team of Robert and Michelle King. They created this kind of like summer project called Brain Dead, which basically is like an update of Invasion the Body Snatchers. But in this case, instead of like just flat out aliens, it's like an alien insects have infected the brains of politicians in the US Congress, and which kind of lead to them doing really crazy irrational actions, policies, and behavior. And the irony is that, of course, a lot of what they're doing hits really close to home because it might as well just be a stand-in for what's been going on in our modern political system today. And to keep it very current and cutting edge, I mean, they incorporate you know, all the names you know and loathe, you know, your Hillarys, your Trumps, your senators, what have you. And then also you have this fictional world of the Senate, which, you know, mirrors a lot, you know, just like our real world. They have a lot of amusing stand-ins for people. There's definitely a stand-in I see for Nancy Pelosi. I believe there's even like a meeting at the Fed with Jack Lew lookalike. I mean, it's very much au courant and of the times, and it's very entertaining. It's supposed to be like a drama. It's dramatic, but it's got light moments too because the whole scenario is so crazy. I mean, imagine. I mean, maybe that's one way to explain Trump's behavior. Maybe he's been body snatched. I don't know. But this world makes it seem very plausible, really sharp writing. The music, you know, by David Buckley. And for people who've known me for a while, they know I love me a good soundtrack. But the same type of classical score you'd find in the soundtrack to The Good Wife is here in Brain Dead. And really, really fun, entertaining, lightweight summer TV. And from what I've read, they've set it up so that The next season, if it's renewed, will be set on Wall Street, and God knows they've been acting a fool on Wall Street. So, and then the future seasons would include Silicon Valley and then Hollywood, of course. And then the other show I really want to hip you to is Atlanta. Oh my goodness. Okay, so a little background on me. From Seattle, very proud. I definitely rep the 206, but my real formative years, from 17 to 21 was spent at Morehouse College in Atlanta. Matter of fact, going a little retro, I'm wearing my Morehouse College freshman shootout shirt. I thought about changing it to some more CinemaDraft-like attire, but you know what? I'm old, damn it. I'm going to own it. Yes, we had this tournament on October 9th, 1993. That was about a week and a half for my 18th birthday, and very proud of my alma mater. Had some of the best times of my life down there. And Atlanta is a TV show that really encapsulates the A. I mean, it's just from the way they talked. I mean, we all know all these characters in this show, and just watching Donald Glover, the creator, producer, writer, and star of this whole show, just watching him kind of stumble through, life as a young black male in Atlanta with his very Atlanta friends and their very Atlanta mannerisms and speech patterns and scenarios. I mean, it's like 40% of my soul has just been, exploded on TV every week. It's only in its second week. It's aired 3 episodes already. It's only going to get better. I'm really excited to see what they have each week. Definitely check out Atlanta. Okay, so I saw a couple movies last week. I saw South Side with You, which is kind of like a fictionalized version of the Obama's First Date. And I guess the legend has it, Barack Obama was an intern at Michelle Obama's law firm. She was a junior associate, and they had some, day-long date together, which is where the sparks first started for them to actually become, for the eventually led Michelle Robinson from Southside Chicago to become Mrs. Obama. And it's an innocuous movie. It's fine. It kind of aims to be like a rambly, talky, like a Before Sunrise or Before Sunset, that whole series from Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. It's kind of positioning itself to be one of those type of movies, and that's fine. I mean, it's enjoyable enough, but it's really feel kind of lightweight. Not, I guess because we already know the outcome, the stakes aren't really that high, and it's fairly forgettable, to be honest with you. But it was worth, a matinee or whatever. But the real movie I wanted to talk about a little bit was Sully. Now, that's one with Tom Hanks starring as Captain Chesley Sullenberger, I think it's Berger, the pilot who, while experiencing dual engine failure at low altitude, heroically, glided 747 onto the Hudson River on what's called a forced water landing. Not a crash. Make it very clear in the movie, it's not a crash. It's a forced water landing with dual engine failure at extremely low altitude, with 155 souls on board, all of whom were saved and accounted for. And so I was actually really curious about this movie, only because it's got a really good pedigree. It's got Tom Hanks, Aaron Eckhart is his co-pilot. Lauren Linney, has the fairly thankless, wife role or what have you, but it's directed by Clint Eastwood, heavy hitter, very very rah patriotism guy. Clint Eastwood recently has done American Sniper. I guess he won the Oscar for $1 Million Baby, I think. So he's a really accomplished filmmaker at Eastwood, and of course his acting oeuvre is legendary. But I was a little curious to see how this would play. Only because it's a singular event, and everyone remembers the event. They remember hearing about it. Maybe it was more of a exciting event for people who lived in the New York, tri-state area. But I mean, it was something amazing. It's not every day or any day you hear of a 747 landing safely into a body of water. And basically, I was curious to see how he would extrapolate this single event into a full-length movie. And to his credit, he keeps it, relatively short. It's 96 minutes. It focuses on the psychological ramifications of, Captain Sullenberger and his crew of of having survived that crash, of having navigated that crash, there's an investigation which forms around the heart of the plot that goes into whether he actually was justified in landing, a plane in the river instead of trying to make it back to one of the airports. And a whole lot of stuff goes on in the movie that you should check it out. It's an interesting movie that basically goes into a big battle between man versus machine, analog versus digital, simulations versus actual flight experience, and basically how our lives are becoming more and more digital, but how you still need human touch and human intuition to sometimes save the day. So that is what I am watching these days. So what we were going to do is we're gonna have a little draft of our 5 favorite football movies. Now, usually what would happen in this segment is Peter and I would go back and forth, like one after the other, picking or drafting, CinemaDraft style, what some of our favorite football movies would be. And since he isn't here, we're bereft of his divergent experience. But I mean, it's a pretty exciting list, pretty standard list for a lot of football fans. And we're doing football movies this week only because obviously the first day of football season kicked off on Thursday. We had our first big football Sunday. I don't know if you're like me, but I will just plop down with my laptop and a pile of wings in front of the big screen and NFL Red Zone, one of the best inventions ever, and just go to town. I mean, I love that stuff. And this is no different. Had all my little fantasy lineups set up. I am the reigning champion, of my fantasy league, Maroon Mayhem. I know if anyone sees this, they'll be hating on it already. I am definitely obnoxious during my reign. I'm the type of person that at the end of every post, because I am the reigning champion, I will put hashtag the champ is here at the end of every post, as well as go YLT, because my team name this year, and I change them every year, my team name this year in honor of the Washington professional football team's quarterback, Kirk Cousins, my team name is You Like That. You like that? You like that. I love it. So at the end of every post, I put hashtag the champ is here, hashtag go YLT. So Maroon Mayhem, if y'all are watching, this pod isn't for you. All right. I'm just going to hate. I'm a hater. When it comes to my league, I'm a hater. I'm the biggest trash talker. I have a lot of fun. And that's what fantasy leagues are for. And quite honestly, it's been the connective tissue for this group of friends and associates for almost 20 years. So for all of you in the fantasy world, who, hopefully will be checking out CinemaDraft when we do launch live, so hopefully sooner than later, embrace your fantasy nerd. You are at home with me and my people. So I would just say, if we were to pick our 5 favorite football movies, number one, well, maybe not so much number one on my list, but if I were drafting against a live opponent, I would just take off the top, just so he wouldn't take it. My first movie I would take would be Remember the Titans, because I am a huge Denzel fan, and also shout out to Denzel Washington, is the greatest actor of all time, period, podcast. Love that podcast. But yes, I am a Denzelite. I love Denzel. Always have since maybe middle school. Ever since I got into acting and stuff, he's always been my number one favorite actor. And Remember the Titans. I'll never forget where I was when I first saw Remember the Titans. Picture it. I think it was maybe summer 2000, the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. I was a struggling, background actor, writer, just trying to get put on. Somehow, a friend of mine, I think, knew one of the writers of the movie, Gregory Allen Howard, and she scored premiere tickets at the Rose Bowl. So they had one section of the Rose Bowl with a bunch of people, nowhere near filled. They had a section of the Rose Bowl, filled with a bunch of people, a big screen set up in the middle of the field, whatever. And we all watched a special premiere of Remember the Titans. Denzel might have been there. I don't know. I wouldn't have been within 1,000 feet of him. But I was in, as much as I love Denzel, I'm like, okay, this is a Disney movie. It's already rolling my eyes. How good is this going to be? But I was pleasantly surprised, if not shocked, at how much I enjoyed this little PG movie. I mean, so think of the things we're trying to tackle in this movie. Remember the Titans, race relations in a period piece in 1960s Virginia. Uh, Herman Boone, a real life person. This technically is a biopic. Real life Herman Boone, coach of a high school football team, was coming from the black side of town or whatever to lead the white side of town's team on to glory, and then in doing so demoted the current in integrating these two schools, right? The black school and the white school, and integrating these schools into one school. He ends up demoting the original head coach of the fairly successful white high school's team into becoming his assistant. So a lot of tension, a lot of egos bumping into each other, and you just kind of, I mean, you just kind of think, okay, it's only PG, it's gonna be fairly sanitized, it's not gonna be very interesting. It's from Disney, for crying out loud, but my goodness, they delivered. Denzel, just delivers one of the most commanding, authoritative studies in leadership that we've seen for him on screen, and even more impressively so, does it among young men and with nary a curse word to be found. I mean, when he brings them all together in that camp to bond and everything, and he has little versions of tough love or whatever that eventually gets melted down a little bit by the enthusiasm of their youth and everything, the sing-offs, the dance-offs, and what have you, and a young Ryan Gosling who plays Sunshine, the perpetually smiling, happy-go-lucky California flop-haired quarterback. I mean, young Ryan Gosling, all teeth and blonde hair. In this movie, I mean, it was really kind of touching. But then when they actually get to one of their real big tests in the middle of a game where they're behind, and he just like scraps the playbook. He's like, look, I want to see some real defense. I don't want to see them cross midfield. And he just gets into everyone's face and just fires them up. I mean, it's just classic Denzel, man. It's just classic Denzel. I really appreciate and love that movie. Remember the Titans would probably be first off the board for me. What's another good one? I quite honestly, I didn't really prepare for this pod. I thought I'd have some backup, so I'm cheating right now. I'm actually checking. Oh yeah, I'm checking Google. Of course, this is a classic one. Varsity Blues, home of the whipped cream bikini. Gotta love it. I don't want your life. James Vanderbeek with just one of the silliest Texas draws ever. But I mean, as far as like small town high school football that didn't quite take itself too seriously, you gotta love it. It's a bit of a cult classic. That one came out. When did that come out? That one came out in 1999. Yeah, so I was a little bit out of college, whatever, but I could really relate to antics of high school and not so much a small town because I'm from Seattle. But I mean, I really enjoyed that movie. It was a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be, or it had any right to be. Young Paul Walker as the studly, upright, injured quarterback for whom scrappy Jonathan Moxon, aka James Vanderbeek, usurps his starting role, while he's injured, in order to lead his team on to victory. I mean, it's a classic tale, but done with a really irreverent, really high school small town twist. And of course, once again, I mean, not to harp on it, but that whipped cream bikini was something else. Allie Larder, you go, girl. Oh my goodness! Any Given Sunday, stop the presses. I'm really beaming. Got the girl steaming. Jamie Foxx taking over for what would have been Puff Daddy's role, Sean Diddy Combs' role. Is just another iconic football movie. I mean, it Oliver Stone, so it's gonna be, it's gonna be gritty. It's gonna be some cussing involved. Gonna be some real life football going on. Rumor has it, LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx literally came to blows in the set. I mean, just so much testosterone and ego, and then you bring in the sage veteran leadership of Al Pacino. And that whole scene where Jamie, I'm gonna add this to my Netflix. I'm gonna watch that again tonight. That is a great movie. That whole scene between Pacino and Jamie Foxx sitting down, mano a mano. young cultish buck who's ready to take over the world, who's just feeling his oats, right? He's ready to assume the leadership of the team, even so much away from the coach. And then the old wizened coach who knows more football, who's forgotten more football than Jamie Foxx's character would ever even know in his lifetime. Who's really trying to wrest control of the team from his quarterback and also mentor him in a way, in the only way he knows how, which is a bit of old school leadership style. Just those kind of butting of heads of new school versus old school. You got to love it, man. You really do. And then the football action is probably some of the best football action we've seen on film. That's one of the problems with a lot of these sports films, that they get the sports totally wrong. Like you'll see, like, for example, Teen Wolf, when they're shooting baskets and you see the shot go up and then the swoosh. I mean, I hate that shit. No. So this is, I mean, you can really see the hits going on. They're really hitting out there. They're really playing. At least it felt like they were playing. I mean, they had real football players in there. You can always kind of like pick out, the little stars of the day. Back then, it was a really fun movie. Really good drama. And it's Oliver Stone, man. I mean, he can really film some stuff. I'm very much looking forward to Snowden too. It's coming out this weekend. I can't wait. All right, so that's 3 down. What else? I would say, you know what? We don't have enough laughs, damn it. I'm gonna say, it might be a controversial pick, but I'm gonna say the Waterboy, because you can do it. I mean, come on now. It's Sandler's before he just totally fell apart cinematically when he still was funny, playing Bobby Boucher, the Waterboy, another classic, coming from the bleachers type role of Sandler's, where he kind of comes out of nowhere, to insert himself into the action and becomes a star and a fan favorite. I mean, got that crazy, Cajun drawl. Kathy Bates' mama. Him seeing his backwoods Cajun self go to school and try to learn some stuff about the amygdala and all that good stuff. I mean, it really is classic Adam Sandler. I miss that Adam Sandler. Where'd you go, man? Come on back. Come on home. We miss you, Adam. They've got on here like Jerry Maguire's a football movie. That's more like a football agent movie. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put that as a football movie. These are all really good, like, Last Boy Scout, Necessary Roughness. That was a little more campy, but Necessary Roughness, not bad. People live and swear by The Program. I don't know, man. When I saw The Program when I was a kid, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, that came out in like '93. I mean, I was in high school, going to college, whatever. I thought it was kind of bad. I'm gonna try to watch it as an adult. I'm gonna add that one to my Netflix also, because I just feel like I either didn't appreciate it somehow, and sometimes there's just some movies that just miss you, right? Like, for example, You Can Count on Me, the movie that pretty much made Mark Ruffalo and what's not Laura Linney, but maybe it was Laura Linney, or maybe it was Laura Dern. I always get those two Lauras confused. Laura Linney, Laura Dern. But anyways, it definitely made Mark Ruffalo a star. But that movie, when it came out, it just missed me. I was heavy into reviewing movies back then. I saw everything that came out. Sometimes I get screenings and everything. I think I might have seen that at like a specialty theater or whatever. You Can Count on Me. I remember watching that movie and I was bored out of my mind. Like, honestly, I did not get it. And for lack of a better term, it just felt like, middle class white people problems. I just couldn't relate. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that it did whatever it did, because it gave the world Mark Ruffalo. Thank you. You Can Count on Me. And Kenneth Lonergan, I think you've done some other stuff I might have liked, but I just didn't get You Can Count on Me. Sorry, just missed me. All right, so for this last one, I am going to choose. They've got some really, I mean, Google's funny. They got some interesting movies on here. Like I said, Two for the Money is more about sports gambling than, say, football. All right, I mean, everyone loves Rudy. I know Rudy's up there. It is a heart warmer. It is a tearjerker. Like, I get it. My heart isn't an ice block. Prick me, I do bleed. I feel you on Rudy, but I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go with, okay. You know what? I will settle on this. Wildcats. It gave us so much Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson in their first team up. Goldie Hawn is the scrappy coach of an inner city football team. Some fairly decent football. A lot of laughs. Made way back in, was it 1983 maybe? 1986. I really enjoyed that movie. I do have some fond memories of that. So yeah, let's make Wildcat my fifth movie. There's my 5 drafted favorite football movies for this week's pod. Check them out if you haven't seen any of them. Some of the older ones you might want to see if it's out there on Netflix or on a streaming service somewhere. But just to recap, we had Remember the Titans, Varsity Blues, The Waterboy, Wildcats, and what's the one I'm forgetting? Any Given Sunday. There you go. 5 drafted football movies. So this is going to be the segment where, for those of you new to the podcast, I will tell you what CinemaDraft is about. So what is CinemaDraft? So basically it's the fantasy sports version of the movies. As I mentioned earlier, it's basically, like the DraftKings of movies. And instead of drafting athletes from teams, you're drafting actors from movies. You draft 10 actors, all of whom are assigned a dollar value salary. You have $100,000 dollars in your budget to fit all 10 actors onto what we call a call sheet. Think of it as your roster or your lineup of your stars. And you have to draft 10 actors, no more, no less. Now, complicating things a little bit, you have 3 release types of movies. Because when the movies come out, they can either go really wide or really small, or sometimes in between. If they go really wide, 2,000 screens or more, we call it a wide release. Medium, 500 to up to 2,000 screens, we call that limited release. And then really tiny, anything under 500 screens, we call a platform release. And so you have to have at least 1 actor from each of these 3 release types, but 10 actors total, all of whom you have to afford under your budget of $100,000. I know, it's a little complicated. And one last little wrinkle is that because we all go to the movies to see stars, right? Like, for example, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back is coming out. We go to the movies to see Tom Cruise. We don't go to the movie to see the extra. So Tom Cruise, as a headliner, is going to be weighted a little bit more. Now, his salary value might be a little bit higher, but his points are also valued more. So if you draft, say Tom Cruise, his points are worth 40% more. Give you a quick example. So, for example, let's say Suicide Squad earns $100 million on its opening weekend. Will Smith's points are going to be worth more than Margot Robbie's. So let's say you get 1 point per each million that Suicide Squad had for each actor. Margot Robbie's points would be worth 100 points for that $100 million opening weekend, while Will Smith would actually get 140 points because of that 40% headliner bonus. See? Not too difficult. The game is free to play, and we will be going into private invite-only beta testing real soon. So stay tuned. Check us out on all of our social media channels, which I'll give at the end of the podcast, so you can keep up current with our CinemaDraft game. Now, the shot list. And let me bring this up for you guys. So basically, the shot list is my picks, and basically shot lists are news and views you can use to pick the winning call sheet. Basically, what I think I can give you as far as a little bit of strategy on what actors might be hot picks for your call sheet. So if you were playing on our test this weekend, you can have the highest scoring call sheet. Now, to give you an idea of what the talent pool is, and the talent pool is the list of available actors and movies you have to choose from on your for your call sheet. I'm going to share with you my screen real quick and show you what a talent pool looks like. All right, so check that out. So here you have your movies. We have 20 in our talent pool this week, and this gives you an idea of what we estimate the screens and release will be, and what the release types will be. Wide for 2,000 and up. Limited for that mid-range, between 500 and 2,000, and then below 500, your platform films. And once again, you must have 1 actor at least from each of the 3 different release types. So And here's the pool where you get to see what each actor's worth from all the films. All right. So I'll just kind of keep this up as I go through the shot list for this week. Now, the first one I want to bring attention to is going to be Shailene Woodley from Snowden. All right. Now, she's a headliner. That's what these green bars designate. These are your headliners. So her points are going to be worth 40% more. A little pricey at 17,000, but it's going to be a wide release film, 2,400 screens or more. And call me crazy, but I think there's going to be a lot of interest in this film because it's Oliver Stone. It's also her co-star Joseph Gordon-Levitt, another headliner, is starring as Edward Snowden. A lot of hacks and everything going on recently about cybersecurity, so I really think that you should add her to your call sheet. She's part of what I would call the A-list. Another A-list actor you want to consider this weekend is Aaron Eckhart from Sully. Now, it's the second weekend. It did 35 million its opening weekend, so still a lot of positive momentum. A lot of people probably still haven't seen the movie yet. I still think it could probably get between 15 and 20 million in its second weekend, thanks to good word of mouth. I saw it myself, like I mentioned earlier, and it's got, I think it's got a little bit of staying power. Clint Eastwood movies tend to do pretty well, and also when they're with his movies, which tend to skew towards an older audiences don't always turn out on opening weekend. They tend to stretch out the life of a film a little bit longer. So I think it'll have a pretty decent second weekend, even in the face of Oliver Stone and Snowden, which actually, believe it or not, might skew a little bit younger, only because it's about cybersecurity and our hacking culture and what have you. So I would grab Sully as the cheaper of the two headliners at 14,600 in wide release. Still a little pop left in that film for this weekend. Now, co-starring, that's like our second tier of actors that you should target for your call sheet this weekend. So we have this phenomenon that is called No Manches Frida. It's my attempt at a Spanish R. And for whatever reason, this movie, which is largely cast of Mexican actors, and I know very little about, has been burning it up in the platform release type. But I think because it's been so popular, it's going to creep over just into the limited category. So for that reason, the price of $8,500 for all of its actors has been lowered, or it was $9,500 last week, but it's been lowered to $8,500 this week. So a little bit of a discount, but that's because it's going to a higher release type. And I still think there's some value there. It gained about 2.1 million over the weekend, 2.2 million, good for 22 points in the platform release type. So now that it steps up its game a little bit, it's probably not going to score as many points because in the limited release type, you get 1 point per every 500,000 in box office gross versus 1 point for every 100,000 in box office gross as a platform release type film. So in the limited release type area, it may slow down a little bit, but there's not really a lot that's going to be, ringing the register this weekend as far as limited release types. I mean, The Light Between Oceans, it's kind of doing its thing, but you kind of feel like it's petering out. It's essentially a small film that's been really well cast. I don't really see a lot to love in the limited release types. We have to have an actor from that range, so you might as well go with Omar Chaparro from No Manches Frida, or you can go Martha Higuereta. Also a headliner, so you can get the 40% bonus. Now, the next one I'm going to suggest would be Callie Hernandez from Blair Witch. Now, all these Blair Witch people are unknowns, kind of like the first Blair Witch. Horror movies tend to do really well in their opening 2 weekends, but my big question is, and this is why it's been, the actor values have been priced so low at $6,600 coming out the gate, is there enough nostalgia for the one-time semi-hot indie franchise that came out, I believe, in like the late 90s, like I think it was 98 or 99. Like it was like I was a pup back then. I remember seeing it in the theater and being like, what the hell is this? I mean, Steadicam, I mean, I don't know if it's really made a comeback per se, but I really wonder how much love there is still for this type of filmmaking, especially when you and I can make this type of film off of our camera phones. But anyways, they're coming back out with this. They're really kind of hoping that the the legacy of the Blair Witch films from earlier will kind of carry it. You never know with horror movies, man. They're really high variance. They really either pop really high out of nowhere or they kind of fizzle. I'm kind of hedging my bets, which is why this is on the co-starring list and not, say, on the A list. So I would say take Callie Hernandez and that 40% bonus. 6,600, super affordable. I don't know if you would stack this film with actors from it, but at least sample it with Callie Hernandez, maybe even her co-star James Allen McCune. And then the last part of the shot list is what we call the cutting room floor. And these are movies you want to have no part with. The first one I'll do off the rip is Mr. Church, all of Mr. Church, Eddie Murphy making a comeback or something. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this film, but this just smacks of what I like to call the magical Negro. Magical Negro, if you're not familiar, is a trope, an archetype commonly found in film where you have Black people who exist solely to advance the life and goal and dreams of the white protagonist. Classic examples of this are Bagger Vance, pretty much any Black person from The Help, and it's just really tired and played because these people, these magical Negroes, I mean, yes, they've got a lot of wisdom and they're mystical and whatever. I mean, hell, freaking Morgan Freeman, at times made, I mean, Driving Miss Daisy, another perfect example. Morgan Freeman, made a cottage industry of helping white people achieve their goals while having no inner life of his own. Often they're asexualized. They don't even know what they think about like a lot of matters. They're just basically there to help facilitate, the life and goals and dreams of white characters. And it's totally played out and tired. And that's all I got from this trailer from Mr. Church. And to be honest with you, I think, in this advanced age of social media where so many, great progressive and intellectual thoughts are shared so freely and exposing people to opposing points of view so much easily. I think Twitter and social media is onto it. They smell the magical Negro bullshit, and they're not having it. So I really think Mr. Church is going to flop as well. It should. And also, I mean, just say no to Morgan. I mean, it's priced appropriately now. It's pretty much rock bottom. The lowest price on CinemaDraft for actors is $5,000, and so it's pretty much rock bottom price for a reason. It's probably going to drop from 2,000 screens to the 600 or 700 range. No one's seen this movie. I mean, it seems like an interesting premise. Got a decent review from Entertainment Weekly, but no one's interested. So I mean, even though this movie might be a nice little flick, we're all about results here and the points and the box office gross. So just avoid this, all actors from this movie like the plague. All right, now, so that is your shot list for this week. And so I'm just going to wrap things up. Where can you find CinemaDraft? Well, for starters, go visit our landing page at cinemadraft.co. That is http://cinemadraft.co. cinemadraft.co, and sign up for an invite to our free beta. We also have all of our handy little social media that you can find for us there. Matter of fact, let me just share the screen real quick so you can see what our landing page looks like. There we go. See, sign up for a beta, for an invite to our beta. You click there, it'll take you to a screen. You can sign up, get a little basic information, and we'll become best friends. And that will get you on our list, and we'll send you an invite so you can partake in this weekend's events. Now that you have all the inside information on who to draft. And also visit us at any of our awesome social media. Facebook at CinemaDraft. Twitter at Play CinemaDraft. Instagram at CinemaDraft. Medium / at CinemaDraft. We even have Pinterest, CinemaDraft. And on Medium, where I've been reviving the Real Deal movie reviews as a bit of content marketing, check out some of my views on movies that are currently out. That also is at CinemaDraft. And of course, our YouTube channel, which is kind of complex, and just basically click on it and go there. All right, and that about does it for this week. Thanks for bearing with me on my very first solo pod. We made it! Mama, we made it! Hopefully, we'll be back with you next week with another edition of the Shot List and 5 new films to draft for your entertainment pleasure. And I don't have any outro music, so I'm just going to sign off. See you later.